The information contained in this film was gleaned from real field research over the course of over 500 expeditions. Dogged observation of the same areas. For a full 7 years now, Crypto Reality has engaged in a private field study. And while from time to time we've allowed the public in to view certain information, we've kept the bulk of our information private. What we've learned is astounding. So for the purposes of this film, we will be stating our conclusions, derived from hard-won, boots-on-the-ground field research. We encourage everyone to look up the science we've used here for themselves. In 1776, the American colonies claimed independence from Great Britain. And as history shows, from that point on, the race to control and pillage North America's natural resources was on. And from every corner of the globe, they came to lay claim to North American land. This is when it all began as an American nation. Eyewitnesses came out of the forests they were trying to develop and tame, with stories of terrifying, upright walking, giant, hairy man-like creatures. And in 246 years as an American nation, and in 10 generations of Americans making claims about seeing these creatures, our authorities and presiding academia have turned a deaf ear and a blind eye to all of it. What would make these people turn on their own countrymen, acting like they don't see just fine everywhere else they go? What would make these people ignore the single greatest scientific discovery in the history of mankind? Money. After all, everybody's got to eat. And if I have to keep a secret so that I can, I will. That's America. That's our authorities and our academic community's attitude. And silence is most definitely consent. On this episode of Impossible, we're going to be taking a look at this footage that Carrie and I shot last time we were in this area. He was over there by that palm tree. So we're going to take a tape measure in, we're going to check out the area, we're going to measure it, and then do some comparisons to see exactly how tall this thing really was. Carrie got into town and we unpacked everything we needed for the nighttime expedition, charged up the cameras, and headed out. We're in an area that I'm intimately familiar with. Right here on our right is where they pulled the body out. This is where the retired highway patrol gentleman was sitting here waiting for a little bit more light to go to his deer stand off of this side over here. He was parked right here, and a Sasquatch came out of that tree line where they found that body, and it walked out here and it bumped into the guy's trailer hitch. It literally approached his truck, and he said when he looked back he could see the chest through the window, but he couldn't see the top of the shoulders and the head. It was so big. But that's on the BFRO, and that's right here where we're sitting is where that happened, and right in here is where the body was found 2 weeks ago. My sighting was 400 yards from here. So the place has got quite a bit of activity.
The adventure begins. Yeah, it's a lot darker.
Yeah. Black. This is a hunting night, man. There's no moon, dude. At least if there is, the clouds are hiding it. I don't see much. They got stuff going on here, man.
Kevin says no April Fool's joke. I didn't even think about it being April 1st.
Yeah.
No, this is no joke. This infrared light shines pretty good.
That first night alone started with something incredible. Check this out.
But it's tense. For me it is.
Dude, we got somebody here, man. This is the part where you start questioning whether these creatures can regulate their own body temperature. We have what's obviously a brow ridge over here, and yet I'm not picking it up on thermal. Perhaps I was looking further away when it was right up on us. So this is a perfect example of how these creatures use the bush to their advantage. Watch how he backs off and blends in. And all we can see at the end here is the thing blinking. So he backs up behind the bush. And now that you're watching it, if you hadn't seen that first frame, you wouldn't even think anything was in there. They are incredibly hard to detect on the film. They're sneaky. The infrared light itself puts out about a 30-foot range, and the creatures appeared to be just on the outside of that. I thought I saw something on the thermal run around a tree, and as I hit record, it ducked behind the saw palmettos but appeared to be running towards the truck. About 30 seconds later, the truck alarm went off.
That's my truck alarm.
Somebody just set your alarm off?
Something did.
Are you serious, man? Is this in the research area? The alarm went off on his truck suddenly. It was disconcerting. We were 3.5 miles into the forest, so there was really no explanation for that other than something touched his truck.
Yeah, something just set my truck alarm
People
off.
would know that, man. Come on.
But I wasn't feeling like this last night. There's definitely some high strangeness going on here. You picking up anything? The interior light's still on. Hold on, it's still live.
So right here, if you listen carefully, you can hear electronic interference suddenly hitting Carrie's camera.
It's going to be hard to see right now, but I don't know. I got the night vision on it.
And then just like that, as he gets closer to the truck, it stops. It was only in the center of the white sand that we got interference right there. Remember this? The camera's behaving perfectly normal here. And from the evidence, we had the creatures around. Yet when we get back to the parking, a very clear difference. Kerry checked his truck carefully, and it turned out I had left the driver's side window down. If you look closely, you can see the infrared lights from Kerry's light rig on top of his camera flashing on the side of the truck there.
Man, I don't see anything.
You need our little like thermal signature.
That was interesting. I'm gonna change batteries right quick.
We had had enough. We packed it up and left for the night. You see, when you're dealing with a species that's difficult to see even in daytime, you review the footage, particularly where you have incident. And we just had an incident. Something set off that alarm. You can see there's a big nose and a mouth right there. It's interesting to me how our images seem to match the descriptions eyewitnesses give. So we're on our way out to the area that we've been working for 7 years, and this is also where I saw the guy jump the trail. Big, huge, hairy guy jump a trail in 2013. It's now 2022. Fast forward 7 years of research out here, and hundreds of encounters over the course of 7 years, and about 300 expeditions out here. We're looking at a situation where we've studied so much that we're predicting behaviors and where they're going to show up to observe us in our research. And so that's what we were doing when Kerry came to shoot this episode of Bigfoot Odyssey. We have an experiment that's been going on for years, and so we just brought the whole Bigfoot Odyssey thing right into the experiment, and that's what everybody was present for on the live shows when we had Bigfoot screaming and running off. There were hominoids all out in this prairie. We've got the thermal footage that we're going to be going over now. But first, what we're going to do is we're going to go on out there and we're going to walk in the area where these creatures were filmed, and then Melanie is going to assist by filming me right where those creatures were filmed, so we can get a size estimate on this guy peeking around the tree, and hopefully this other individual that we only got partial face of. That one appears to be huge, so we want to get over there and walk around and get a lay of the land of where these creatures were, so we can get a size estimate. So we're on a foot trail. No hog tracks so far, but a very well-used trail, as you can see. Just going right through the area. I've been researching here for 7 years, and I had my encounter here about 10 years ago. I'm yet to see people walking around out here enough that would create trails. And specifically in this prairie, I've never seen another human being besides my wife and I, or anybody that would accompany us in our research in this prairie. And yet there are trails with gigantic foot-shaped punch holes in the muddy areas all through it. What you find in this place, if you take the time to look, will make you question why many people have gone missing or been found dead in this exact area.
20 inches probably.
Track was an astounding 22 inches. It had an impact ridge all the way around it. We continued on. Walking out into the prairie, in the area where we have all of this action, finding giant 20-inch tracks, 22-inch tracks, looking out for rattlesnakes. This is a prairie filled with field mice, and I've seen rattlesnakes out here. Wild hogs. You have to watch out for wild hogs. They can and do attack people. And then there's whatever is leaving these tracks. It's enormous. So as I continued on, I noticed something really odd in the prairie, and I shot a clip of it. You can be the judge. As I stood there shooting, I caught movement, and I recognized the phenomenon right off the bat. And if you've never seen a Sasquatch, this could confuse you. But if you know what they are, he's gritting his teeth at me. What are the odds that we're finding tracks like these and then capturing what appears to be what eyewitnesses have described as leaving the tracks? What are those odds? You be the judge. Now, as we advance forward, we get another killer frame. Now, in the second frame here, you can see a change in the mouth. It appears to be pursed, lips are shut. Just under the nostrils, you can see that big upper lip area. And right there, we have the entire face of the creature. It's difficult to understand this if you've never seen it before. So this is a sketch representation of one of the individuals that I've seen with my own two eyes. As you can see, the bone structure is drastically different and more exaggerated than a typical human being. What we see with the individuals that we study is they have a lot in common. This is another individual, and Melanie and I have actually committed it to painting, but I saw this individual and these color changes happening in real time. The bone structure of these creatures is something that most people have never seen before, and it's important that you understand what you're looking for in the films as we move along. So a brief description would be these individuals appear to be both non-human primate and human primate at the same time. It's like they're monkey men. You can plainly see that comparison right here. The first expedition we undertook with the new equipment, as you can see here, Carrie's on one of our new cameras, was actually really exciting. I just came out of that prairie and walked up, and Carrie was shooting, and he stated point blank that he had a possible subject on film. What do you got going on?
All right. He's gonna be dead center. Almost dead center.
So here's the actual footage that Carrie was shooting on that hill, and this is potentially the same individual that we caught on thermal. You can see here in a comparison shot, they're very similar. This individual appears to be peeking around a tree. Having measured the area and the saw palmettos in front of the individual that are blurred in the foreground, we can estimate this individual's height. Let's check the area out.
So there are hundreds of foot-shaped punch holes here, and I'm looking for a track that's going to be spectacular because it's been raining here. So we may find a big track out in here. Yeah, go for hydration. Dehydrated.
In what way are you not feeling well?
Yeah, it's I don't know. I just feel ill. Like wow. Weird sensations, man.
So we found the area we thought the creature was actually hiding in, and one of the other creatures that we caught on thermal. And that's me waving in there. That's how small I am. That area is a lot bigger, and those trees are larger than they appear from a distance. We went over the area several times, and based on the topography and the trees in the surrounding area, the height of the bush in the foreground, we're thinking this guy was probably bent over, but he's still around 6.5 feet tall. So not as big as we thought it would be, but then again, he could be 2 or 3 feet taller, if it is what we think it is. Either way, a great job by Kerry, his first time out with this new camera. This appears to be one of the individuals we've documented before. The areas we work in look so beautiful in the mornings, and then you start to think about what you know is in there, and the experiences, they start to pile up.
Walking in, kind of trying to creep a little bit, and we stopped, heard a little bit, thought we saw something, and coming down we just heard dot splash right into the water. No doubt. There's nothing else it could have been. It was no alligator. That was steps. That was dot pow into the water. Insane. I don't want to say what I said at the time, but it will make you jumpy.
You can tell by the look on your face.
Thanks.
You've seen a ghost.
It'll make you jumpy. It will. This place is tight. You would not believe how tight this place is.
If you know anything about Kerry, then you know it took a lot for him to go in the bushes again. This incident stopped us from going in this area. We had a Bigfoot get up off the ground and charge us for flying the drone at him. I backed off the drone, and the creature stopped charging, went back to where he came from. Just a few minutes later. They had moved in on us quickly and were not stopping.
They're on the island right now. They're behind us. They've been getting closer each time we come. While we were flying the drone, I think I got an excellent shot. We'll see. The screen, the feed coming from the drone is only in 480 today, so it was garbled, and I'm staring at this thing from about 20 feet above. I got lower this time. Same spot we caught him in last week. And I think it was one. I don't know. We'll see. If it is, it's significant footage because it's going to be in 4,000 from the drone cam. While we were shooting that, a giant starts walking towards us, through this little thing where we're filming, you know? Just right on the edge, man. I mean, Melanie's like, look at the treetops. Like, you could see the treetops moving. It was within 30 yards of us, coming towards us. My heart was pounding. Melanie's heart was probably pounding. So we're going to go ahead and clean up and leave them to their business, because it seems like every time we come in, they're just more okay with like, yeah, we're here. They're very curious about this damn drone. So I'm completely shocked about it. It's like I understand, like, it's just kind of like coming in and they're just kind of looking at it, but I thought for sure they would get up and run, and they haven't done that. They're just kind of like watching it. But for sure, one got up and started coming towards us while we were flying it 50 yards away, and I was shooting that other one. I think it was one. We'll see. If it wasn't, it ain't my fault, because the footage, there is stuff moving in these bushes, man. Let's get the fuck out of here. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
All right, we're gonna go.
What we've been doing for 7 years is very simple. We approached these areas and found tracks and torn up trees and decided to observe these areas. We continued to observe these areas, and now we're in our 8th year of observation of these exact areas. In a lot of situations, we film the same tree line 200-300 times a year. The wilderness here in South Florida seems vast, but it's dwindling. The development boom is in full swing again. We have a unique opportunity to observe a situation coming to a head between the creatures that have lived here for thousands of years and that no one believes exists, and the humans trying to develop it all, polluting the environments in the process, forcing all of these creatures into areas that are smaller and smaller, where they can yet encounter more and more humans. And every single year, that's exactly what happens. Imagine you're in your favorite wilderness spot on the trail, walking through, and you look over to the left and you see something like this. Pull out your camera, take a couple shots. This is what you get. And what do people say? And so it goes. And it's swept under the carpet willfully by everyone. Over the course of these last 7 years, we spent a lot of time in these areas, documenting these individuals. And what we've been seeing on the film shows us that these creatures actually change color as they're moving in the forest. And if they're standing still, the diffused light coming off the canopy changes color all over their skin with movement constantly. All right, so here's the footage that Carrie and I shot about a month ago. What you're going to see is what appears to be a giant green humanoid. His skin is retransmitting diffused forest canopy sunlight. What does that mean? Well, you can see it. That big head in between those two trees. The sunlight is picking up those green tones as it comes through the forest canopy above this creature, and it's blasting onto its white skin. The skin then rebroadcasts the bright forest green canopy colors, and that's what you see. This solar interaction creates an optical illusion. It gives you, the eyewitness, the impression that this thing is green and therefore only a part of the forest, not a living creature. He came in, got an apple, took a look, and left. He was in one clip for 30 or so seconds.
I think it's clear. I don't think any of them. Something's moving around back there.
This is the part where you want to be real careful before you go in.
All right, let's just try to get in and measure and then get out.
We know what we've seen and captured on film here. I literally saw this creature, threw it an apple, it picked it up, and ate it in front of me and my wife. I just walked past where that thing was standing. So my head's always on a swivel in this spot. That's not to even mention the 10-footer we're about to try to measure. The problem here is they blend in so well, they can be really close. And right now, they're expecting us to throw apples. So they're right there somewhere.
There's a little dry patch. So we've got a ditch that runs down into the water, and it looks like it's the trail. Now when this water's not here, we walk on this all the way along this thing here. And then if you look over here, there's like a blind, and that's where he was standing. He was standing behind this stuff right in here. This particular formation of tree right here, where you've got the split and the broken one coming up, is in the shot. And his head is literally even with that little knot right there, where it goes up and it comes out on a 45. Right where that split is where the top of that creature's head is. So we're gonna measure that, and then we'll give you a more accurate representation of what me and Carrie caught right here. All right, I'm gonna go over here and try to measure this tree. Man, there's huge punch holes, man. That thing's gotta be 17 inches long. Jeez. I'm trying not to get bit by a snake at all. So this is interesting. I'm going to use this tree as a brace to get that measurement over there.
Right.
Okay, so if you can see right here and then right there, we're going to do a comparison. So maybe come over on this side
Okay.
so we can get a shot. You can keep filming. Just come through this little thing right here and stand on this side and get these two in line. And that way, when I pull the measurement, we'll be able to see both trees in the shot perfectly. I'm stepping down into the water now. I hate this right here. Okay, so this is actually the water surface right there. So, we're going to keep going up. Man. It's like beyond the fold of the tape measure even. Anybody that's ever worked construction knows exactly what I'm talking about. Oh, geez, from the water's surface already, we're at 8 feet. Something, man. Let's see. I'm gonna have to get in deeper, I guess. Okay. And that's gonna put us right there is 120 inches. 120 inches. So, we've come in. Dude, that puts us at 10 feet.
Wow.
It's exactly 10 feet to the bottom of that knot over there, or right around it. So within an inch or two.
Yep.
Because I'm looking at it from an angle, but you have a better.
Are you looking
idea.
at the where the branch is veering out left from that center branch from the tree right behind the one
That's
you just
right,
measured?
Yeah, that
yes.
little split right there. He
Yes.
was standing right there,
Okay.
right behind that, right? So
Okay.
we know that that's a good reference point. And I think with your angle being further back, we'll
Yes.
get a much more accurate representation. From where I'm at, it looks to be around 10 feet. I think
Yep.
in the video I said 10.4. Something's moving. Did you hear that?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So we're right around 6'6" is what I'm going to say. The height of this particular brush is. And that's right in front of the creature. Now we're going to go over here and measure. And I want to see the lower end. So you can plainly see from right here the observation platform. And the brush right here is 5 feet tall. 5 feet tall. And right in front of me, it's like 4 feet tall. But you can see where it raises up. So from the edge of the water, he's standing. And this is really kind of a crucial point to make, because he was in the water when he was observing us. And I want to make note of that. Okay, so to get the tape measure back in that area, yeah, we're at about 20 feet. He's standing about 20 feet from the edge of the water behind that knot, approximately 10 feet tall.
Imagine for a second, if you will, that your skin is as reflective as the surface of this water. You can plainly see the light and colors reflecting off of it, transmitting illusion that somehow the surface of the water is various colors. But the only reason the water is transmitting those colors is it's being broadcast onto it from above. Sunlight is passing through the branches and leaves of this mangrove tree, picking up its coloration, broadcasting it onto the blank surface of the water, creating the illusion of colors somehow being in the water, a purely scientific explanation for the inexplicable.
The Sasquatch that I saw in 2013 appeared to be an albino. That was what came to my mind. He had white skin, or extremely light gray skin, and he had silver gray hair and what appeared to be clear hair. Now I know. He was changing colors in the direct sunlight, and it gave you the impression that the individual seemed surreal, or that the entire moment was a dream almost. And if it wasn't for the fact that when he landed, he rotated his body and looked at us, I probably wouldn't have thought that it was real. At the moment that I saw it, I didn't think it was real because of this phenomenon playing about his figure.
We believe this solar-based phenomenon, when coupled with the creature's built-in ability to embed itself in the environments it chooses to habitate, are the primary reasons for the public's confusion about the existence of the species, when all along, they're right there, blending in, watching us.
This is a spooky place at night, I'll tell you that much.
What you got going on, man?
Well, I mean, even if there's the moon, it's still dark in those canopies. And even though we've got the good thermal now, they can get right up on you. Anything can through the palmettos there, because they don't hold any heat at all. You can't see through them. All you see is black, and then you can see the red. I mean, the colored tree trunks, holding heat. But if you didn't have a thermal, you were out here, yeah, you'd be testing your reflexes.
We hiked around the prairie for about an hour, and as the sun started to go down, we prepared ourselves and our gear for what was about to happen.
Do y'all hear that?
A creature was running off, screaming at the top of its lungs.
That's serious distress.
Our first night alone, Carrie and I decided to go live on Bigfoot Odyssey while we filmed with the thermal. It was incredible. You're going to hear two things when we play this. You're going to hear the sound of extreme electronic interference and the faint screams of some kind of creature in the background.
Yeah, I've never heard anything like that in my life.
I'm saying I have 3 other times.
Here's a good shot of one of the individuals we've been studying for about 7 years. We've caught this individual on film several times with several different types of cameras. The sketch on the right is from when I saw him through one of those thermals from 18 feet away. This is the footage of when the creature was running off screaming. I was trying to see if I could catch that thing that was screaming on film, and then there was this thing out there watching us. Keep in mind, that's electronic interference you're hearing. So if you watch closely on the left-hand side, you can see the thermal signature of the individual peeking out from behind the tree. Whatever these things are, their heat signatures can vary. Some of them light up bright on the thermal, while other ones may barely show up at all. When you're in the bush and you're relying on a thermal device to show you heat signatures, and it turns out your prey may not have much of a heat signature at all sometimes, you can go from hunter to hunted real quick. Luckily, this guy was lit up bright. Here he is having changed angles, completely different angle. The head is so different from ours, if you don't know exactly what to look for, you probably won't see him anyway. So here's an interesting comparison. Individual's looking at me through the thermal. You can see the heat signature. Now he's looking to my left. He's looking towards me and to my left now.
One of the reasons we don't see as many of these creatures as, like skeptics would say, is because they blend in. They blend in to a degree that when they're walking through this environment, they're literally changing color with the bush that they walk in.
We find a lot of physical evidence. We have about 15 different hair samples with over 100 different hairs. We find them all in Florida swamps or on barbed wire fences bordering Florida swamps. Clear hair. There's only one species known to have clear hair, and that's a polar bear. Here's some of its hair right here. That's polar bear hair. Polar bears do not live in the swamp. So we can eliminate that one, and it still leaves a question mark. But we think we may have figured out what's going on here. Who owns that hair? Well, first, let's look at polar bears. Polar bears can turn green. Algae grows on their hair, so the animal turns green. This is our hair sample from Central Florida. You can see that clear hair in there. We also found hair with algae growing on it. Would the creature be green like this polar bear? Obviously, if it has algae growing on it, there's a very high potential the creature would appear green. How about giant green Bigfoot? They blend in because their skin is achromatically colored. Their skin can be white with no color at all, bright white, all the way to a shade of black that is the darkest black I've ever seen. This particular individual has a light gray or a whitish skin. He's picking up the green colors from the forest above him and around him. Their hair can be clear amongst other colors. There can be algae growing on it from the sedentary lifestyles they lead in the swamp, the same areas. Ambush predation, constantly sitting still watching for game so they can pounce on it. The algae grows right on their hair. Their achromatically colored skin absorbs and retransmits green, diffused forest canopy sunlight, giving you the impression that all you're staring at is a bush, when in fact, there's a 12-foot monster 60 feet from you. You just can't see him. He's blending in perfectly. So the real struggle here has been getting cameras that have the ability to separate in great detail the colorations that are optical illusion on the Sasquatch from the actual colorations of the Sasquatch itself. This causes the cameras a great deal of confusion, and the resulting footage is almost always blurry. Very simply put, our cameras do not understand how to encode the colorations that Sasquatch produce as a direct result of the phenomenon produced by their natural coloration, achromatic coloration, and its interaction with a solar phenomenon known as diffusion. Quite literally, if these creatures pass in front of a polka-dotted wall, they will pick up the polka dots and retransmit those colors.
Basically, the gist of it is that there are creatures in the forest that blend in so well and that are so adapted to living on and in the ground that you're missing it.
Just what are we dealing with here? All of our data points to a creature that belongs here. Yes, they are real. Yes, they are out there. Yes, you are not seeing them. And yes,